Today we probably got one of the craziest spoiled kids of all time. In today's story, we have a story time of a spoiled kid who burns down his summer camp. I know this one you'll enjoy, so sit back, relax, leave a like on the video to claim your free nothing. With that all being said, let's just jump right into it. So anyways, we're going to call the subscriber who submitted this story Jake. So anyways, this was Jake's first year going to a summer camp. And Jake was in 7th grade at this time, or a sleepaway camp. Jake had been to many summer camps before, but I don't know about you, but at least in the United States, because I know I have a lot of people outside the States, and maybe not even just the United States, but for a lot of people, right, they'll go to summer camp, but the real big step up is going to sleepaway camp. I know at least for me, like going to sleepaway camp, that was like the big deal because like you're finally away from your parents like the entire day or the entire week, and that was pretty crazy, right? That was a pretty big step in the direction of being a teenager. And anyways, yeah, so this was a pretty big deal for Jake. He was pretty nervous, and he was driving down with his parents, and he was talking to them about how, oh, what if I don't know anyone there, or what if I don't like anyone there? What if I want to see you guys? And they said, Jake, like, look, if it's really bad, you can always call us, and we can always come and get you. But we think you're going to have a great time, and we do ask that even if you're a little nervous in the first couple days, give it a little bit of time. And Jake, was feeling a little bit more comfortable, and he got excited. So anyways, they eventually get to the summer camp, and, they walk up to the front desk or whatever, and, the mom's like, hey, this is Jake. And they're like, oh, Jake, how's it going? Like, you can go over to Group B over there. And they were split up by cabins, so Jake walks over. And before he walks over, actually, he says goodbye to his parents, gives them a hug, and he walks over. So there's a bunch of guys over there, and there's just one kid who we're going to call Ben. Ben was the spoiled kid. However, unlike a lot of other spoiled kids in my stories, he actually was kind of chill. He's kind of a chill guy. He's a chiller. He was cool, right? He was actually Jake's friend for a little while until he does something literally insane, as you'll see. But I just did the leafy literally. Jesus Christ, literally. Anyways, this kid was actually kind of cool at first. So, Jake goes over there and they're like, introduce yourself to everyone, and people are going around. It's a little introduction before they go off to the cabins, and kind of just like naturally, how like sometimes you'll be in a group and just naturally you'll start talking to someone. Like there's no real indication for why you should. It's not because like you guys have a shared passion of Star Wars or Bitcoin mining, or I'm bringing the joke back, guys. You guys have been like, I haven't made that joke since January, and I've gotten comments saying bring it back. So you ask and I shall do. Anyways, right. They just kind of hit it off right away, and Ben does not appear as like some kind of spoiled kid or anything. He appears as a totally normal dude. So yeah, Jake and him actually hit it off really well. So they go back to the cabins, and they're kind of like shown around or whatever. And it's kind of new to them because they've never been to sleepaway camp before. So, some kids were probably like, oh my God, like this is disgusting. Like, where's my hot showers? Where's my TV? No. But yeah, the first time I went to sleepaway camp, I went with a friend. It was an awesome experience, and I was super nervous. But anyways, right, Jake and Ben decided to choose a bunk together. And things start to get more interesting, or kind of the story starts to unfold more that night. So anyways, they go to dinner as a cabin, and, one of their camp counselors who is in the cabin with them says, all right, guys, well, we have a really fun thing tonight, and I know you'll be excited for it. So eventually, let's skip ahead to that point. And basically what happened then was that they had this kind of camp-wide massive bonfire type thing where every kid in the camp and every staff, everyone basically would go around this big campfire, and the leader of the camp, like the leader of the friend group, I don't know, the guy who ran the camp, right, would come out and he would do some like secret, like what he'd say, some like secret song or something that the kids from who've been here before knew by heart, and the kids who were new were like in I don't know. It was pretty cool. It was like one of those little like, if you know, you know, and if you don't, you really want to know type things. So like eventually they all walk out there, tons of kids out there. It's around a big campfire, big bonfire type thing. And that's when Jake and Ben, who are talking with each other, they see a group of girls. And, at this point, Jake kind of leans over. He's like, hey, Ben, you want to go meet some new friends? And Ben's like, I'm all ears, man. Like, what are you talking about? And Jake kind of points over, looks over and says, dude, look over there. And there's like a big group of girls. And Ben's like, all right, say less. So they both walk over, they introduce themselves. All the girls are pretty nice and chatty. And there was one girl specifically who we're going to call Libby for this, Libby, right? Yeah, she was, I don't want to say like she was the prettiest of the group, but she may or may not have been the prettiest of the group there, which doesn't necessarily mean, okay, guys, I'm going to sound like an a-hole a little bit, but okay. There's a reason why Jake and Ben were talking to her more. Okay, maybe I don't sound like the a-hole. Maybe they do. I don't know, dude. I really don't know. Anyways, I'm just the messenger. I'm just the storyteller. Don't shoot the messenger, bro, okay? That's what is said in every single time, except in the movie 300, the messenger gets bodied into a pit and dies. So hopefully you guys don't body me into a pit or stab me in the back like it's Dark Souls or something. But anyways, enough getting distracted. Yeah, so Ben and Jake immediately just like strike up this conversation with this Libby girl. And this Libby girl is nice. She's very pretty. She's engaging in conversation back with them, which honestly at this point Jake was telling me, like, if any girl engaged with the conversation, if any girl didn't just say okay to everything he said, like, how's it going? Good. Like, if she responded good, how are you? Then, dude, he wants to marry her. Like, oh my God, like, at this point, right? But anyways, this girl was really cool. Jake and Ben are both really talking to her. However, it becomes a little complicated because they both start to like her. Oh no! Drama in the friend group over a girl. All right, the story gets a bit more interesting than just that because the spoiled kid eventually burns down the entire frickin' school, dude. So yeah, believe it or not, this is a vital detail to getting to the point of the spoiled kid literally burning down the frickin', not the school, I'm thinking of another story, literally burning down the summer camp. But anyways, you might be thinking, how are we getting there? Give me time, give me a second, sit back, relax, don't get worried about it, leave a like on the video to fly, you know how it already goes. So yeah, Jake and Ben are talking with her a lot, and that's, eventually the bonfire's over, Livy's cool, they're talking with her, and they're walking back, and Ben turns to Jake and is like, dude, like, I'm 100% gonna try and, like, I'm gonna shoot my shot at some point. And Jake at this point in his head is like, shoot, I wish I'd said something first, because now Jake can't be like, oh, I want to shoot my shot too. I mean, he could, but let's be real. That's a recipe for just like basically saying, hey, like, we can't be, not that we can't be friends anymore, but dude, if a guy's like, oh, I'm going to try and shoot my shot, and you want to be friends with him, maybe don't say I'm going to try and shoot my shot as well, because you'll have a bit of a rivalry. I don't know about that. But anyways, Jake was kind of like, damn, like, if I said that first, I would have basically been in the clear, but whatever, I'm going to have to hold my tongue. So yeah, every single day from that point on, Ben and Jake, they're chill, they're hanging out, they're having a good time. But also, Ben is always telling him about, like, oh, today I talked to Libby for X amount of time or whatever. And in one of the group activities, or one of the activities that Jake was in, that Ben wasn't in, Jake had it with Libby, and Jake and Libby kind of became friends. But it was always kind of, like, hard for Jake because, like, he knew that he could never pursue without potentially messing up the friendship. That's always something, I mean, that's actually happened to me before, at a summer camp before. It's tough. It's a tough situation, but thankfully for summer camp, you're only there for, I don't know, a couple weeks, right? However, the more time Jake spent with this Libby girl, the more he felt like, dude, like, she's awesome, she's pretty, and, like, is the only reason I'm not pursuing her is just because Ben, this guy I just met, also wants to pursue her? Like, I don't know, I might want to pursue her anyways. So anyways, a couple days go by, and Jake, goes over to Ben and is like, hey, are you still, like, pursuing that Libby girl? And Ben's like, yeah, I am. Jake's like, oh, how's it going with that? And Jake's like, dude, I actually think I'm going to try and, like, ask her out, like, for, like, a date or whatever pretty soon. Remember, dude, they were in 7th grade. Asking someone out was actually more of a thing in middle school than it is now that I'm in college. I'm like, dude, what? Why is it reversed like that? Yeah, but unfortunately, hopefully the college you go to, people are a bit chiller when it comes to that stuff. But anyways, yeah, so Jake was kind of had to hold his tongue. Like, this actually happened to me once at camp. It's just not long enough of a story for me to make an actual story out of it. But there was a guy that I befriended, and there was this girl. I didn't say anything because I knew that he was pursuing. And yeah, it was tough. You hate to see it. Taking another L. but it just be like that sometimes. Anyways, though, right? Jake is kind of like, okay, fine, whatever. Like, that's just how it's got to be. And eventually, Jake kind of makes peace with it. He says, I'd rather stay friends with Ben than risk, ruining the friendship that we have just because I want to pursue this girl who I'm going to see for the next week, literally the next week. Like, I'd rather have this friendship with Ben just in case we want to come back another year than try and pursue a girl and ruin it, which in a lot of cases is probably the right call. And I think Ben made the right call here. Jake made the right call here. So Jake goes on to say, well, man, like, are you trying to do it today? And Ben's like, yeah, I think by the time that like we see each other again, I'm going to have shot my shot, and it's either going to be a win or it's going to be a tough day for both of us. And, Jake kind of looks at him, laughs a little bit. It's like, all right, man, well, best of luck. I am really wishing like the best for you right here. And they go off. And Jake that morning talks to Libby one more time because they have like a group activity thing together in the morning. And Jake, while he's talking to her, it's just like, because like she's cool, right? She's cool and she's pretty. And Jake is like kind of infatuated with her a little bit, right? At least a little bit. And Jake's kind of like, damn, like this is kind of tough because either the next time like I talk to her, there's a chance that she's going to be like in a thing with my best friend or rejected him. And then either way I can't pursue, right? Yeah, that would be almost worse in a way. Actually, no, both would be pretty bad. And so Jake is like, you know what? Let me just savor this last moment with her, right? And she's like talking with him, and he's just kind of like, just kind of looking at her, zoning off or whatever. And he eventually, some time goes by, and he waits till Ben gets back. And when Ben gets back, Ben kind of has this look on his face, this discouraged, not super excited, low energy look. And almost immediately, Jake realized what the verdict was because, here's the thing: if she said yes, Jake would have been literally coming in being like, let's go, baby, let's go. Like Jake, come over here, man, come over here. I have the greatest news to tell you. But instead, he was just like, he walked in and he didn't say anything. So Jake immediately knew. He looked over, he's like, dude, I'm sorry. And Jake's like, bro, like, I didn't even ask her out. And at this point, Jake's like, Ben, what do you mean? Because in Jake's head, he's like, oh, maybe he changed his mind and I can pursue. And Jake's like, no, dude, like apparently she's been talking to this other guy the whole time. And dude, apparently she came here with her boyfriend. At this point, Jake and Ben are both kind of like, or Jake's like, no. And Ben's like, dude, yeah, I know. And at this point, Jake made a kind of mistake, right? A little bit of a mistake. And that's when he basically thought that it would be better, like to almost to console him, to tell, this was kind of stupid, but he was thinking in Jake's mind, he was like, oh, I'm going to tell Ben that I also had like a thing for her, right? And that we can both suffer in this together. So yeah, anyways, Jake's like, you know what, man, if it makes you feel any better, like, I always thought she was really pretty too. And like, if you weren't going to pursue, I definitely was. So we can kind of like relate to this together. And Ben looks at him and says, you're trying to pursue as well? Kind of this like, what? And the thing is, Jake's like, no, that's not what I said. You're twisting my words. What I said was, I would have pursued if you didn't pursue, which honestly, I think is fine. I think it's a little weird to say. It would be weird to say if like that was like his girlfriend. That would be really messed up to say. You'd be weird for that, but it's not. It's just a girl he kind of liked. However, Ben took that really poorly, and Ben was like, dude, I'm already having a bad day that this girl that I really wanted rejected me, which she didn't directly reject him, but whatever. And now you're telling me that you were going to like go behind my back and try and like get with her too? And Jake's like, whoa, chill. That's not what I said. I just said that like, in an alternate reality, if you weren't going for it, I might have tried. And at this point, Ben's like, I can't believe you, dude, which is kind of a complete overreaction. Real quick, if you made it this far into the video, comment a camp down below, C-A-M-P, or sleepaway camp. You can comment either that phrase or just camp. I'm going to try and hard a bunch of comments to say that, just to say thank you for making this far into the video. And just as a little reminder, the best thing you can do to support the channel is just watch as many videos as you can. Literally sitting down and just like binge watching old videos just while you're doing something, it helps more than you can ever imagine. I'm trying to get the channel back up. I'm getting back into it. So please let me know in the comments section like what you're doing while watching the videos or how many videos you watch today. I will try and heart and reply to as many as I possibly can, just to say thank you guys, just for all the work you've really done getting the channel back out of the gutter. I really do appreciate it. Don't forget to leave a like to fly immediately and subscribe if you're new. And anyways, yeah, so at this point, Ben and Jake are kind of beefing with each other, and Jake's really confused, like, why is he so mad at me or whatever? And Ben's like, you know what? I gotta get some fresh air. So he like walks out of the camp cabin, and this other kid was sitting there, kind of listening to the whole thing. And he's like, dude, like, I don't know why like Ben's so mad. And Jake's like, well, I mean, he did just get rejected by this girl. And he's like, the guy's like, yeah, fair, but all you said, like, you thought she was cute too. Like, you were actually like being a good friend by not like swooping in like when he was trying. Like, you could have if you wanted to. It's not like they were dating or something. And Jake's like, yeah, exactly. That's what I thought. I thought if anything, it would be like we could relate on the pain of this, right? And he's like, oh, I guess not. So anyways, for the rest of the night, like, Jake was just like being avoided by Ben. Like, Ben was just avoiding Jake, and Ben was just stewing. He was getting angrier and angrier and angrier, because at this point, Ben was like, first I can't have the girl of my dreams. Now my best friend tries to betray me, which I don't know if that's a betrayal, dude, but anyways, he's like, yeah, and he's just like, he is stewing, and he's angry, and he didn't get what he wanted. And here's the thing, right? Jake didn't really realize exactly what type of person Ben was. And I don't mean like he was like some crazy serial killer, evil person, right? But he was, if you only have a week to know someone, you're not going to know everything about them, right? You're not going to know the extent of all the things that they do, all the sick things they do in their free time just playing with you. But you're not going to really understand all the ups and downs of an individual. In fact, you're probably just going to get the very surface level, the cream of the crop good stuff, right? You're not going to understand all their inner workings. So the truth was, Ben was not as cool as they all once thought. Ben, in fact, was kind of a spoiled kid, right? He was a kid who always got what he wanted. And one thing that was true was that he would get mad and mad and madder and madder, and whenever he didn't get what he wanted. And the thing was, too, it wasn't like he stayed at the same level of anger. He was just stewing. He sat there thinking about it again and again. And I know definitely for myself, like when I'm upset about stuff, I will occasionally just sit there and just stew over it. It's just unhealthy, man. Don't do that. But the thing is, like, I don't get progressively more and more angry, right? But this kid was just getting angrier and angrier and angrier. So the next day, right? It was also the night before was super awkward because like they shared a bunk. And Jake was bottom bunk, so he just kind of like was in there when like Ben walked into the room, dead silent, and like walked above him to get to top bunk, which was pretty uncomfortable, but like whatever, I guess. Yeah, but anyways, how do I say this? The next day, Ben just wasn't anywhere to be found. Ben was literally nowhere to be found, and Jake didn't really think anything of it. He just assumed, oh, well, the kid like left early to go, I don't know, man. He left early to do something. Like, who even knows at this point? But yeah, so that definitely happened. Jake was like, okay, whatever, like, that's fine. Like, he can go off and do whatever he wants. He kind of thought that he went off on like some kind of like morning run or something just to like get the fumes out or whatever. And that's when everyone leaves the cabin. And so they're at like so when Jake is back with his, at like the first activity of the day, and that's the activity when he's with Libby, right? He's still talking to Libby. The thing is, they're friends, and even if he can't like have her, right, as like a girlfriend or whatever, he doesn't super care because he can still be friends with her, and that's honestly cool enough. And they're talking or whatever, and that's when there's like rumors of like, this kid comes over and he starts talking, and he's kind of just like, he's like, dude, like, you're not going to believe this. I think something's like crazy is going on. And Jake's like, what do you mean by that? And at this point, Libby and Jake kind of turn over to this kid and is like, what do you hear? And he's like, apparently there's like, I just saw these like firefighters come over. They went to like East Campus or whatever. And East Campus was where all like the housing was, and also where Jake and Ben's camp cabin was. And he's like, oh God, like what happened? You think there's like a forest fire or something? Or like, what do you think happened? And they're like, dude, we don't really know. And after about 10 minutes, like, Libby and Jake look over, and their camp counselor, the guy who's like doing whatever program they have together at this point, gets like a message on his like phone or whatever, and he like picks up the call, and you just see his face is just like, what? Like, you can tell someone's face when they're on the phone, and they're just like, whoa, dude, like this is kind of messed up. So anyways, he has his face on, and they're all kind of like, okay, like what's going on? Like something is definitely going on here. And after getting off the phone call, the camp counselor guy's like, hey guys, like This is like, we have to end our thing early. We're all supposed to go to the field. Yeah, he says, I don't really know that much more. Like, and he does know a little bit more, but I don't think he can say, right? He's like, yeah, I don't really know that much more. All I know is, like, whatever you're doing, just put it down here. We got to go to the field. So at this point, Livy and, like, Jake kind of look at each other, and Jake's like, dude, what do you think this is? And she's like, I have no idea, but it definitely doesn't sound like routine or whatever. So they walk over to the field, which is like on the east, it's like on the opposite side of wherever the firefighter trucks went. And they're all standing there, and it's, they're not all standing there. Jake and Olivia are walking over with their small group, and they walk over and they see like every other group on campus walking over to the same place that they're walking to. And that's when they realize that, you know, something was definitely up today. So they're walking over, and it's like everyone's like standing out in this big field by group. So it looks like some kind of fire drill or something. They're like, okay, well, maybe this isn't a drill, but like this is what like we did like for fires at our camp or whatever. So, or at our school. So like they walk over, and, you know, Livy turns to him and is like, I think it's like some kind of fire or something, just to be safe. And so they're walking over, and they're in their little groups or whatever, right? And that's when one of the camp counselor guys comes over to Jake, and he's like, hey, like, can you come with me? And Libby kind of looks at him, and Jake like gives a look of like, I have no idea what's going on right now. Like, I literally have no idea. And so he like walks over, and he's kind of just like looks at the camp guy, and he's like what's good? Like, what's going on? And the guy's like, hey, like, I just wanted to know if, like, because I knew that you were close with Ben. And at this point, Jake's like genuinely concerned for Ben, because he's like, why are they talking to me about Ben? Like, that's really weird. And they're like, yeah, I knew that you were close with him, so I just wanted to ask you a few questions. And Jake is kind of looking at him like, huh? And eventually Jake speaks up and says, hey, can you just give me some context here? And they said, and the guy's like, well, I don't know how much I'm allowed to tell you, but there was an incident back at like the campsite. And Jake is looking at him and kind of says, incident? He's like, yeah, apparently the kid was like super mad or something, and you know, all the camp, like somehow I think he took one of the counselor's lighters or something, and he went to the bathroom and like lit all the toilet paper on fire and like draped around the campfire he draped around like the house that you guys were living in, and the whole thing went down, and you know, he had to call the fire department, and they're trying to make sure it doesn't spread to anywhere else. But no, we just wanted to know if there's a reason why he could have done this. And Jake is just looking at them. And Jake is like starting to comprehend what happens. Because, dude, I don't know. If someone came up to me and said, like, yeah, this guy that you're friends with literally burned down the camp, dude. And the main reason, the only thing that you can possibly think of is because a girl said no. And that girl that said no to him was also a girl that you were like, oh, she's bad, lol. Like, she's a 10. Like that would actually be the reason. Like, that would actually be the reason for it. I think I would definitely be sitting there just for a second being like, dude, there's no shot. Like, there's actually no shot. That's the thing. But yeah, at this point, you know, Jake's like kind of snaps out of it. He's like, I mean, he was like upset about something. And the guy's like, oh, well, what was he upset about? He's like, this girl said no to him basically, but not even. And the guy's like, well, that can't be it. And Jake's like, yeah, I mean, that's the only thing I know. It sounds pretty stupid to me. And yeah, they let Jake go. And Jake goes back to the kind of the group thing, whatever, and he meets up with Libby again. She's like, why, they need to talk to you, like, what happened? And Jake at this point is like, all right, well, you can't tell anyone, but, you know, Ben. She's like, yeah, like, I talk with him a little bit. And they're like, and Jake's like, you know, apparently. So yeah, Jake goes on to explain to Libby that, yeah, that Ben allegedly, right? Because he's like, you know, hold up, this guy just came up and said this to me. Like, I don't even know, but allegedly he might have gotten angry and set stuff on fire that set our cabin on fire. Libby's just like completely shocked. She's like, Ben was such a good kid. Like, he was so nice to me. Like, oh my God, I can't believe that, like, he would have done something like that. Like, that's crazy. And yeah, they kind of just stood there, and they stood there for like literally in that field for like 3 hours or something. And it was pretty boring, but also better than being on fire, I guess. So, Jake couldn't really complain. Eventually, they went back, and all the people in Jake's cabin were kind of pulled aside, and they said, hey, like, we're going to have to put you into housing that's slightly off campus. Or no. It was like they had to reassign them somehow. I bet like what they did was they put them in like other empty cabins, but they had to break them up or whatever. So they just want to let them know that they had to live somewhere else. And yeah, for the rest of camp, they never saw Ben again. And most likely that was because they didn't let him back after he set the place on fire, because that is a pretty good reason to not let someone back. Maybe I'm over-exaggerating. Maybe I think that, like, I don't know. Maybe setting the whole place on fire is totally cool, totally chill, and that they're totally overreacting here. But I think it's kind of fair. And, eventually Jake's mom picks him up, and she's like, oh, how was camp? Did anything interesting happen? And he's like, camp was good. And yes, something interesting did happen. And Jake went on to go tell her the fire story, whatever, and she was, like, freaking out or whatever. And apparently Jake's mom did a little investigation online or whatever, and there was, like, some kind of, like, Facebook post or something about, like, because some other parent at the camp, like, was told about it and was spreading rumors. Apparently, like, it was nothing. They didn't know anything new, but there was, like, an official, like, police report about it or something like that. I don't totally know, but, yeah, Jake returned to the camp next year, and understandably, he did not see Ben, because I got a feeling that Ben was not invited back. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this one, the best thing you can do is watch another video. And also, if you leave a like right now, you will literally be able to fly. If you leave a like, you will start levitating. It's incredible. I mean, if you don't, well, you would never know. So just go ahead and leave a like. But no, seriously, guys, thank you so much for the support. Today we get a story time of a spoiled brat who ends up destroying his entire school. This is a pretty crazy one that I know you'll enjoy, so sit back, relax, subscribe if you're new. Leave a like on the video right now to claim your very own free nothing. With that all being said, let's just jump right into it. So anyways, this all happened one day. What all seemed like a normal day. These stories normally do start off as something that seems like a normal day and then metastasizes into something that's a little bit worse than that. Anyways, though, at the subscriber school, there's a kid who we are going to call the spoiled kid. The reason why he's the spoiled kid was just a unfortunate combination of his parents having way too much money and also them treating him like kind of not setting any restrictions on it, giving him full access to it, and almost making him feel like, that was also his money, or whatever. And also a combination of that and being extremely arrogant and full of himself and prideful and just believing that he was a true genius and just an absolute polymath, a genius in every field. He mastered every aspect of life at the age of, 15 or whatever, however old these kids are, right? So this was definitely a combination for the perfect storm. And the perfect storm that ends in the lightning strike, that is the spoiled kid destroying his entire school. As you guys will see, it's very, very interesting turn of events. But yeah, anyways, right, so this all started on what seemed like a normal day. And the subscriber was in class, and so was the spoiled kid. And the spoiled kid was being just extra obnoxious today. I don't totally know what his problem was or what his deal was, but for some reason, I guess he just decided that today he was going to be the most spoiled brat of all time. He was just going to really take his normal spoiled bratness, which is probably like a 6 out of 10, and just crank it all the way up to a 9 or even perhaps a 10 out of 10. So on this very day, he was just, he was just going off about something. He was just going off about some tangent. It was probably something about, like, it wasn't like a direct, I'm rich and you're not, but it was a indirect reference to that was so clearly, it was so clear what it was that it might as well have been a direct reference, right? He might have been asking, like, oh, but why can't you do that in reference to some kind of activity that you need a lot of money for, or something like that. And, he was getting a little bit, annoying. And today, he was just on an annoying streak. Another important piece of information to know is that the spoiled kid also believed that he was, a master with the women. Because, there's definitely a stereotype that, like, oh, if you have money, girls will like you. That's not, X does not equal Y here. That's not a 1-to-1 like 100% always true correlation that is also a causation. There are times where having more money, like having resources, is definitely a net positive in a lot of cases. I'm not going to say that's not true. There's plenty of data to say that that is true, but that is not a one-to-one correlation. And especially it's a different situation when you were the one who had to go through the trials and tribulations of building something to get that money, or working to get that money, or some combination of that and positioning, versus you just spawned into existence having access to that money. Huge difference. Huge difference in my opinion. Maybe not for everyone, but for some reason, or for that reason, I guess, the spoiled kid believed that he was not only a genius and super great at everything, but he was also just patently irresistible. Irresistible. So there's a girl in this class who I only have a couple girls' names I go through anyways, so it doesn't really matter. But we'll call this girl Ava, right? One of three names I use. The fourth name that I no longer use, but that's irrelevant. Anyways, though, so we'll call this girl Ava. And Ava was a very nice girl. She wasn't like one of the very popular girls, but she wasn't unpopular. And she was, very pretty in her own regards. And the subscriber always thought of her very, fondly or whatever, but he never made an attempt or whatever, right? So this all happens. The subscriber's sitting there. The teacher's teaching, right? It's it's a pretty big class, and it's also a little bit of a lax teaching environment, meaning that the teacher kind of lets anything go. The teacher's mentality to this, and some teachers have this mentality, not all of them, but some do, is that I'm going to teach the material. It's up to the students if they choose to pay attention or not. So there could be complete chaos going on in the class and the teacher wouldn't care up until the point where it was distracting the kids that were actually trying. The teacher really had the mentality of if you want to try, you'll try. And if you don't want to try, then, well, don't try. Anyways, though, so sure enough, right, the subscriber's kind of just sitting there. And the spoiled kid is being just extra obnoxious. And he's just he's sitting next to this one kid. We'll call this kid Ben. And the subscriber knows Ben or whatever. And Ben comes from a more difficult background, definitely more financially difficult. The subscriber is relatively middle class, maybe lower or middle class, but just pretty normally middle class, pretty standard middle class. But Ben definitely comes from a family where money's a lot more tight. And the subscriber or the spoiled kid knows this. What the spoiled kid also knows is that Ben also has a romantic interest in Ava. The spoiled kid also knows that Ben has made a lot more progress in that romantic interest in Ava, meaning that Ava is a lot more interested in him than she is in the spoiled kid, partially because Ben has actually tried and made an effort, and the spoiled kid has not. I think the spoiled kid just genuinely believed that he was so irresistible that why would he need to spend all this time making an effort? So unnecessary. I mean, why it would be such overkill if I tried, was the spoiled kid's mentality here. So yeah, anyways, right, the subscriber notices as the spoiled kid was starting to talk to Ben. And I think the spoiled kid, one, was on some kind of high of being super arrogant or super entitled or whatever. He was just on something that day, right? But also, I think he also felt a bit threatened by Ben, because he knew that, Ben was making a lot more progress and that he was going to take it out on Ben and show Ben that, he is actually going to be the one who, takes the cake here, and that Ben's not going to be the one who gets it, and the spoiled kid will show him who's up. So the spoiled kid starts to say to Ben, must be so hard, man, especially when you know that no girl's ever going to really seriously commit to you. And Ben's why do you say that? And the spoiled kid's well, let's just say that when I'm competition against you, they're going to know that they have two options. They could go with you and live a life of destitute poverty, or they could live with me and live very comfortably. I mean, Ben, who are they going to choose? And Ben kind of looks at the spoiled kid, and Ben's got a pretty solid character, right? So he's I don't think that's going to matter. And it's also, we're in 8th grade, man. I don't think whoever they choose to date right now, I really don't think financial situation is going to have any effect. And Ben was more or less right now. I mean, yeah, sure, long-term dating or life partner or whatever, you're probably going to care a little bit. I mean, not necessarily. You might not care at all, and that's totally fair. But I will say on if we're looking at the aggregate, that at least matters a lot more, just because, I mean, logically it matters a lot more. It's, you're going to share that with someone, you're going to live on that. It's going to be that's going to basically dictate your life. So yeah, but at this point, Ben was totally right. It's just kind of a super irrelevant piece of information. But the spoiled kid was like, no, like, you don't understand. Like, I guarantee, like, I just want to let you know, Ben, that I know that you have a thing for Ava. And Ben's like, yo, chill with that. Because it was kind of public information. I mean, everyone knew. It was one of those situations where, I don't know if you guys had that kind of like group of kids in high school that were like always flirting with each other, up to the point where it's almost getting a little bit annoying. And everyone was like, oh my God, these two are talking again. Okay, right? But anyways, so Ben, but it still wasn't like public information, because it wasn't like Ben had made a move. It's not like anything was official. So Ben's like, yo, dude, like, relax with that. And the spoiled kid, kind of ignoring him, is like, yeah, and I just want to let you know that she's mine, bro. Like, don't even try. So obviously Ben was like a little bit not super happy about this, but he kept his cool. He's like, dude, like, what are you talking about? And everyone kind of knew that the spoiled kid was full of it, but the spoiled kid's like, look, I think it's pretty clear to everyone that I am irresistible, and that if anyone's going to make a choice about who they're going to be with, it's between you and me. I think the choice is quite obvious. And the subscriber's like, okay. Or not the subscriber, sorry. The subscriber's still listening to this. Ben's like, okay, man, like, well, then let's see. The spoiled kid's like, what? And Ben, who's basically like, okay, this kid's going to be annoying about it, and let me use his, like, pride against him. So here's the thing. Ben realized that maybe if the spoiled kid was able to basically present a totally different person to Ava, then maybe he would have been a threat. Maybe. But Ben can also get this kid to humiliate himself and maybe take him down a peg or so, but also remove him from being a threat if he gets the spoiled kid to act irrationally because he's so prideful and full of himself. So here's Ben's plan. So Ben looks at the spoiled kid and says, hey man, like, I don't believe you. You know how you can prove it to me? The spoiled kid's like, kind of curious right now. Spoiled kid, and Ben says, well, if you're so absolutely irresistible, then you should be able to go up to Ava right now and ask her out, right? And of course she's going to say yes, right? She's going to want to be, don't even just ask her out on a date. Ask her if she wants to be your girlfriend. Ben, in the back of his mind, knew that this was not going to work. This was going to blow up in the spoiled kid's face. So, also knowing this, Ben also knew that the spoiled kid, after having such a big ego, would maybe know that this was a bad idea, but also part of him would believe that it is possible and that what he's saying is true. But also the other half of him feels like he needs to keep up a consistent public image. Therefore, he needs to act on this. So the spoiled kid's like, dude, you just made the biggest mistake ever because I'm literally about to steal Ava away from you. Watch this. So the spoiled kid gets up. And remember, I know this is during class, but remember what I said about how the class was kind of like anything goes, and as long as you're not being super disruptive, then it's whatever. So that was also true so because of that, the spoiled kid just goes straight up to Ava and sits down next to her. And she looks over like, hello? Because I don't know, they're just not friends. They've never spoken to each other before. And also, the spoiled kid was, what happened was that Ben moves up a little bit closer so that he can hear everything that goes down. So from this point on, the subscriber was not close enough to actually hear word for word what was being said, but the subscriber basically told me what happened, so I can fill in the gaps pretty accurately here. So more or less, the spoiled kid goes up and is like, hey, like, what are you doing right now? She's like, paying attention. I'm in class. Like, what? Like, spoiled kid might as well have just said, oh, babe, what school do you go to? Like, what? Anyways, though, yeah, so sure enough, Abe was like, I'm in class. Are you not? And the spoiled kid's like, well, since I'm so clearly irresistible, I just wanted to give you a great opportunity. And Ava's just like, what? And the spoiled kid's like, well, I wanted to give you the greatest opportunity of a lifetime, actually. And Ava's like, okay. I mean, I guess I'm listening, I guess. And then the spoiled kid's like, well, so it's super rare that I would ever say this to anyone, so consider yourself extremely lucky. But I was thinking if you wanted to be my girlfriend, one of many, by the way, I have many girlfriends. If you wanted to be my girlfriend, I would consider saying yes. Ava's just like, I'm sorry, I don't really know you. I'm okay. Thank you. I thank you, though. It's very flattering. The spoiled kid's like, no, I don't think you understand. Like, I have a ton of girlfriends. Like, I could literally ask anyone out. I don't think you understand. Like, I could literally ask anyone. That's what I'm trying to say here. So, yeah, at this point, the spoiled kid is just kind of having a reality check that no, not everybody is simply in love with him. And he's like, you know, you're making such a big mistake right now. And Ava's like, maybe, but I'm sorry. Like, I just know. And the spoiled kid's like, whatever, man. And he, like, gets up and he, like, runs out of the classroom. And at this point, right, the subscriber looks at Ben, and Ben looks at the subscriber, because they kind of know each other. And Ben kind of, like, walks back. He sits next to the subscriber. He's like, dude, like, spoiled kid actually has had a breakdown right there. And so the subscriber's like, yeah, but what did he actually believe? Did he actually think that this girl was just going to say yes to be his boyfriend? They don't even talk. They've never talked before. And Ben's like, yeah, I kind of knew exactly how this was going to go down. Like, dude, I'm not even going to lie. Like, I kind of planned this out. The subscriber's like, well, I mean, I guess I don't really think he was going to be that big of, like, a concern beforehand, but I guess he really is not going to be a concern now. So anyways, right, the spoiled kid was super, super angry. And the spoiled kid, being only told no a few times in his life, because remember, he is, he's the genius, prince, charming, everything, right? You tell him no? Are you insane? Right? Anyways, though, but the spoiled kid does not know how to deal with rejection that well. And he just gets big angry, and he gets big mad. And so anyways, the spoiled kid does not live that far from home. So he gets in his car, which, yeah, he in eighth, or they were like 15 or 16, right? So I don't even think he could legally drive, but I think he just parks close to the school or whatever. In his probably very fancy car that you should never give a 15-year-old that fancy of a car. Anyways, though, he drives back home, and in his room, he has been, he has found his way where he's gotten his hands on some illegal fireworks. And they were I don't know if you guys ever saw The Simpsons, right? But there's a Simpsons episode where Bart Simpson drops these, like, firework-type bomb things down the toilets and just, like, explodes the entire school's piping system. Just a little foreshadowing for what's about to come. Real quick, if you made it this far into the video, comment spoiled down below. That'll be the secret word of the day. And if you don't already listen on Spotify and you use Spotify, make sure to listen to these stories on Spotify as well. The link to our podcast is in the description of this video, as well as the pinned comment. And finally, I want to let you guys know that we're having a little bit of a challenge until summer. We're going to say summer starts in June. Basically, it is the binge watching challenge, where every single day I want you guys to comment how many videos in a row you've watched. One is kind of like a cool community type thing, just we can have a little competition. Try not to lie, though. But also, too, it really does help the channel, because watching a lot of videos in a row, binge watch it, or it boosts the watch time on the channel, and having a little push into the summer where everyone gets out of school would be pretty cool. So thank you to some of the people on the screen right now for doing the challenge, and make sure to comment down below. And now, with that all being said, let's get back to the story. So specifically, the type of firework that the spoiled kid got his hands on is something called a cherry bomb, which is a small, powerful firework that typically consists of a small explosive charge wrapped in red paper casing. So it is designed to produce a loud bang when ignited, which is often used for practical jokes or to create loud noises. Cherry bombs are typically considered to be illegal in many countries, including the one that the subscriber's in. And they can be pretty dangerous if mishandled or used improperly. So yeah, this is the same one that, Bart used in The Simpsons to destroy the entire school. I think the spoiled kid must have somehow watched this episode of The Simpsons and then used his vast network of money and connections to get his hands on one, right? So the spoiled kid, remember, the following is an educated guess. Because the subscriber, nor Ben, nor anyone else followed the spoiled kid back home. So just remember that. But the spoiled kid went back home, and he was super angry. Because remember, he's just been told no. Someone says no to the spoiled kid? How dare they defy his grand wisdom, right? How dare they? So the spoiled kid at this point is just so angry and fuming that he decides to drive home. So he drives home, and he's in his room. He's probably like punching the wall, has daddy's just going to buy a new wall. Who cares, right? It throws his $10,000 computer out the window, drop kicks a diamond chandelier. I don't know. Whatever spoiled kids do when they get angry. But he's sitting there fuming. And that's when he looks at his, the probably, his nightstand in his room, and he sees the cherry bomb / firework that is on his nightstand. And at that point, he probably has an idea to get revenge on the entire school. So anyways, the spoiled kid grabs it, gets back in his car, and drives back to school. And so he walks into the bathroom. So this is where the subscriber finds his way back into the story. So let's rewind 10 minutes or so. The subscriber's still in class. This is a really long class period or whatever. And he raises his hand to go to the bathroom. So he raises his hand to go to the bathroom. Teacher's like, all right. Or says, I don't know. You tell me. Dude, yeah, you know what I mean, bro. Just let me go to the bathroom. None of this snark. Or the teacher's like, oh, make it quick. Okay. I will just instantly defecate. I will just excrete my bowels from 0 to 1. I'll just have I just have Ferrari style bowels where I can go from 0 to 100 real quick in 2.5 seconds. Just empty out my entire stomach in 1 second. Yeah, of course, bro. I got you. No problem. Anyways, though, so sure enough, right, the subscriber, he's going to the bathroom and he walks into the bathroom. There's no one else in the boys' bathroom. Or he doesn't think so. Well, the spoiled kid's in there, but no one else besides the spoiled kid. So the subscriber goes to open one of the stalls, and he isn't really paying attention. If the stall door is locked, well, then he's not going to enter it. But he's not checking underneath all the stalls for footprints, right? He's not looking for footprints, for feet, right? He's not looking for that. He just opens up the stall door, and if it doesn't open, then it's occupied. And if it does open, well, then okay. So he just opens up the first stall, and there's someone in there. And he's about to close it when he recognizes who it is, and he realizes that they're not going to the bathroom, right? It is the spoiled kid with his backpack sitting above or kneeling above the toilet. And in his hand is a cherry bomb that he's about to light. And the subscriber just makes eye contact with the spoiled kid. And the spoiled kid makes eye contact with the subscriber. And it's the subscriber just caught him red-handed. And it's this kind of weird situation where it's okay, is this where do we go next from here? The spoiled kid looks at him and says, you didn't see anything. The subscriber's like, dude, what are you doing? He said, look, bro, you didn't see anything. Life's going to be a lot easier if that's how this goes. So the subscriber thinks about it for a second and is like, you know what? Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. So the subscriber gets up and he just walks out of there. He's like, nah, I'm good. I don't need to see this, bro. I don't need to be a part of this nonsense. I don't need to be a part of this shenanigans, bro. It's just not necessary. I just don't need that in my life right now. If I'm being honest. If I'm being honest, it's just not super necessary. Yeah, it's just not. So anyways, right, the subscriber gets up and walks back to class. He sits down next to Ben. And the subscriber obviously looks a little shaken up. So Ben's like, dude, what? Are you good? Because to Ben's knowledge, he just went to the bathroom. Who cares, bro? He just went to the bathroom. And the subscriber's like, yo, Ben. And Ben's like, yo, what's up? He's like, dude, spoiled kid is angry. And Ben's like, what do you mean? And that's when, the teacher gets a phone call. And it's like, class, this is a little weird, but apparently we all need to get up, single file line, and leave the building. And Ben looks at the subscriber because in Ben's mind, he was like, no, this is too much of a coincidence. The subscriber comes back looking all pale-faced, and then he says the spoiled kid's angry, and then all of a sudden, it's like, oh, we need to get out of here as soon as possible. So anyways, Ben's like, dude, what? And the spoiled kid's like, or the subscriber's like, dude, I'll just tell you when we get outside. Yeah, so anyways, right, as they're walking out, the subscriber, looks over at Ben and is like, dude, I walked into the bathroom, the spoiled kid was above the toilet with a cherry bomb. And the subscriber, or the Ben's like, dude, what? How do you get his hands on one of those? And the subscriber's like, I don't know, man. Bro's a crazy rich kid. Anything's possible there. And looks like he was about to drop it down the toilet. He just told me to leave and that, life would be easier for me if I just left. So they walk by so as they're walking down, they walk by, or they see the spoiled kid. And they see the spoiled kid. 2 security guards are walking him down in the other direction, right? And the subscriber and Ben just make direct eye contact with the spoiled kid. And the spoiled kid had like the nastiest look on his face. He was looking at them so angrily. So the subscriber's like, all right, we're not touching that. And so the subscriber looks at at Ben and is like, dude. And so anyways, as they're walking out, they see like the big like fire department come in. They saw the police department came in. They see all these like people and handyman stuff coming in, and they're just really confused. So while the subscriber himself never passed by this specific area that was near the bathroom, the subscriber, like while they were outside waiting for what was going on, ended up talking. Some like kid he knew came over them, was like, dude, like, did you see it? And he's like, see what? He's like, dude, like the entire bathroom was flooding. Like look, dude, like the ceiling was coming down. One of the pipes was like, it burst or whatever. There was water everywhere. The subscriber was like, oh my God, like I actually know like part one to this story. And obviously the kid kind of like shut up and listened. The subscriber's like, dude, this kid got really angry because one of my friends trolled him, and he went back home and he must have gotten like one of those like cherry bomb things. And he went to the bathroom, and I saw him when he was about to put it down the toilet, and he said for me to just like, it's better off if I don't say anything, if I leave. And the kid's like, no way, dude. Like, and then they look over, and sure enough, the spoiled kid is standing at the very far end of the school with the whole police department, the faculty, the staff, everything. So no one knows for sure exactly what happened, but most likely what happened is the spoiled kid was like caught midway through the act, but already enough of the stuff had gone down. Like enough of like the cherry bomb or the firework, whatever, went down the toilet. So it was already like a bit of a tough situation. Yeah, anyways, right, the spoiled kid gets expelled from the school, understandably. But, you know, his parents have like a billion houses all over. So he probably just found a different house to live in and go to that school district. Moral of the story is you might know a kid who's kind of a spoiled kid. You might know a kid who's kind of, you know, an entitled brat. But this is the most spoiled kid on planet Earth, and I guarantee that. Today we got a story time where the subscriber goes to see his super spoiled cousin, and he turns out to be the worst kid ever. I know you'll enjoy it, so sit back, relax, subscribe if you're new, leave a like on the video right now to claim your free nothing, limited time deal, fantastic offer. With that all being said, let's just jump right into it. So we're going to call the subscriber who submitted this story Ryan, and Ryan had not seen his little cousin in about 2 years at this point. And we're going to call the little cousin, or Ryan's little cousin in the story, Ben. So the thing is, 2 years ago, they just had a kind of, not a falling out, but like I know that like Ryan's mom and Ben's mom just didn't really leave on good terms. So like Ryan's mom was always like, they were always like a somewhat middle class normal family. Like they never like had to struggle that much, but they also never were able to do anything that fun. Like if they were going to have a vacation, it would be like, I don't know, to like us, their vacations would be like down the street. You go to the hotel there. You're not going to like Fiji, or you're going to France or whatever. And the thing is, like, Ben, Ryan's cousin, would literally have a vacation every 2 months to like the most exotic place on planet Earth. But that wasn't the reason why they had a falling out. The reason why they had a falling out was that it was actually Ben's mom. So Ryan's cousin Ben, his mom, or I guess Ryan's aunt. Dude, I'm not good with family trees. But basically, Ben, the spoiled kid, it was his mom, so Ryan's aunt. It was her, like, wedding, and Ryan and his mom showed up, and Ryan's, like, parents couldn't afford, like, $1,000 to give her in, like, a wedding gift. So they got her something that was, like, fairly sentimental, right? They were like, I don't know, it was a sentimental gift. But since like, I don't know, like Ben's mom was kind of like everyone else at the wedding was giving her like, oh, here's gold encrusted carrot for you. It restores the most hunger with good saturation. It's great in Minecraft. And they give her like, oh, here's like, I don't know, gold encrusted whatever, or just like really expensive stuff. And then so basically Ben's mom had a very snarky comment to Ryan's mom about like how like it's a cheap gift or something like that. And after that point, they kind of had a falling out. However, 2 years past that point, Ryan's mom and Ben's mom kind of got on the phone together. And since I think they're sisters, I think that's how it works. Somehow they're like closely related, right? They decided that like just like they got to get over it. Like their family, they're not going to live forever, and that like, you know, it's just important for them to like stick together, and like something petty like that is ridiculous. I think both sides apologized for the way that they reacted, which, you know, I do understand, like, some people might be like, why did Ryan's mom, like, apologize? Like, she didn't do anything besides getting a gift for her sister who had a wedding. But at the same time, Ryan's mom did cut them off for 2 years. So there's not really anyone who is like in the complete clear in that one. But either way, both of them kind of chill out with each other and are on good terms. So Ryan's mom informs Ryan that he is going to go this like summer, that they're going to go stay a week at, Ben's mom or her sister's house or whatever. And that, it's going to be a great time because they have a really good house. And they live in a pretty cool neighborhood type place, and it's near, I don't know, it's like on the shore, so maybe they're in Cape Cod or Nantucket or one of those places, right? So there's going to be a lot of fun things for Ryan to do there, and Ryan kind of looks at his mom and is like, yeah, but like, I know I'm going to have to hang out with Ben. And the thing is, right, ever since Ben was a little kid, he was kind of like a notorious spoiled brat. He was not that fun to hang out with, but, Ryan's mom was like, you know what, Ryan, Ben was like 2 years ago. Like, I know 2 years doesn't sound like a long time, but, since he's a younger kid, they mature really quickly. He's probably a much better person now. Like, I think that you're not giving him like a good opportunity to prove himself. And Ryan's like, all right, like, I'm not going to make a stink about it. Like, obviously that's very nice of them to invite us up there. So yeah, like, that's fine. It's all good. So eventually the summertime rolls around, and Ryan gets in the car with his mom, and they drive up about 2 hours to go see, Ryan's little cousin Ben and, Ryan's mom's sister. So, they already know that something's like, that this is not your normal house, because they're driving up, right? They're driving up to go see this guy, to go to Ben's house, or I guess Ryan's mom's sister, but same thing, right? They're going up to the house, and it's a different house when you have to like enter a driveway just to get to their house, and the driveway to get to their house takes like 3 minutes to drive. And I don't mean like a driveway down a street. I mean a driveway to their house. Like, this was like a mega mansion, bro. This thing was huge. Yeah, and at this point, like, Ryan kind of turns to his mom and is like, this kid's house is like enormous. Like, we haven't even gotten there yet. And Ryan's mom's like, yeah, you do remember, like, my sister's like husband is a very successful banker, or I don't know, he invented Apple, he's Steve Jobs' guy, he's back from the dead, I don't know, man. But yeah, like, they're very successful, and this isn't really surprising. However, Ryan was just like admiring the drive up there, because they had like crazy plants from all over the country, or all over the world, I should say. It was super green and lush, and it was beautiful. They eventually get up to the house, and Ryan's mom gets out of the car, and her sister gets out, and they kind of embrace each other, because I don't think they've seen each other in person ever since they had the falling out over the wedding. So now at this point, Ryan gets out and he sees Ben. And Ben's kind of just looking at him, and Ben isn't like looking like disgusted or anything. He's like, oh no, how did the Poors break through our gate? Mother, shoot him now. He isn't like doing anything crazy like that. However, he isn't looking like that excited to see him. But then again, he's still like a 13-year-old kid. Like, he's still a kid, and Ryan being 16 is significantly older, right? So he can't be like, wow, why isn't this 13-year-old like showing his best behavior and manners? Like, yeah, it's not great, but the kid was 13, so it doesn't really matter. So Ryan goes up to him. He's like, hey, Ben, it's been a while since I've seen you. And Ben's like, yeah, like, it's been a second. Good to see you again. And Ryan's like, all right, this kid seems nice enough, whatever. And after Ryan's mom and her sister, right, are done, like, embracing for the first time in 2 years, they're like, oh, like, Ryan's sister, like, Ryan's mom's sister. I'm just going to say Ben's mom from here on out. Ben's mom's like, oh, you guys should come inside, like, bring your stuff in, whatever, right? So they go inside the house, and let me just say, the house has like 4 floors to it. It's a crazy epic house. They got a massive pool and water slide in the back. It's like just an awesome house, right? So they get in there, and the guest floors are on like the 4th floor. So Ryan's like walking up all the floors, and he's just like, oh my God, is this a house or a hotel, bro? Like, I swear to God, like, you could have the entire like city, and like, you could have my entire neighborhood live in this house, and there'd still be a bedroom left over at this point. So they got up to the final floor, they put their stuff in there, and they walk down. And at this point, Ryan's mom is talking with Ben's mom, because they had kind of had like 2 years at this point of like not speaking to each other. So they had at least 2 years of catching up to do, right? So at this point, Ryan's mom's like, hey, Ryan, how about you just go catch up with Ben, your little like cousin or whatever? And Ryan kind of gives a look to his mom of like, bro, like, dude, like, we all know what this kid is like. Because Ryan, while being fine going on this trip, right, wasn't necessarily trying to spend an exorbitant amount of time with his little cousin Ben, because he still had an assumption that he was pretty spoiled. But Ryan's mom kind of gives him a death stare of a do what I say or you will explode at 3 a.m, and he's like, okay, fine, whatever. So Ryan walks over and or goes over to Ben, and Ben's like, yeah, come up here, I'll show you my room. So Ben opens up his door, and sure enough, his room is Ben's room is pretty awesome. There's everything that a kid could ever want. You got on one desk, you got an Xbox, you got a PC with a massive monitor, and it's it's an expensive PC, right? You got the Lego Death Star, which was fire. I had Lego Star Wars a little bit back in the day. I was more of a Star Wars action figure guy than a Lego guy, but even I could admire a Lego Star Wars, a Death Star. I know how crazy those are. Yeah, but anyways, just looking around the room, there's literally everything that a kid could want. And that's when Ben's like, dude, come over here. So Ron's like, all right, what's up? He walks over and Ben opens up his closet door. And sure enough, there's a massive shoe rack. So Ben apparently is almost a hype beast shoe collector. So you already know that this kid is the worst. I'm playing. If any of you guys like that stuff. I had a stint where I really, or a very small period of time where I was like, oh my God, if it has a Supreme logo on it, it's awesome. So I fell down that trap too, but I was broke, bro. I was a kid. I didn't have any money. So the most hype beast thing I had were Supreme socks. Yeah, I unironically bought those because I was like, oh, I'm going to be cool now. I'm going to get all the ladies. Let me just say that was not the case. Unfortunately, I really thought that for a second. And also, by the way, I said a couple videos ago, if we got 1,000 likes in a day, that I would tell you guys about the way I asked out my 8th grade girlfriend, which might be literally, it's worse than any story I've ever told on here. I'm not even kidding you. And I'm sticking to my word. I will be doing that because I got 1,000 likes in 5 hours or something crazy. So thank you again. I'm just going to be doing that a little bit later. I'm going to be doing it when I think the time is right, but I will now be doing it. So you guys have unlocked the cringiest story on planet Earth. I kind of hate you guys for that, but also thank you for the likes. Yeah, but anyways, so, Ben is like, dude, take a look at these. And he pulls up the Supreme Off-White Fear of God super sneakers with the tags or whatever and the box logo, and he just pulls up this pair of shoes that are low-key kind of ugly, and he's like, dude, guess how much these are? And Ryan already knew that this was going to be where things went downhill, because the spoiled kid is literally saying just oh, guess how expensive these shoes are, right? And Brian doesn't really want to play that game, but he's like, whatever. He's like, I don't know, man, $100, because bro, Ryan just didn't involve himself anywhere in this world. And at this point, the spoiled kid, aka Ben, his cousin, starts literally maniacally laughing. The kid is an anime supervillain, bro. He's just laughing he's laughing like he knows something. He's laughing I don't know, he has an evil plot. This kid is laughing like he's the Joker in Batman, bro. It's ridiculous. And Ryan's like, what? And Ben's like, these go for $1,200 at retail. And Ryan's like, dude, why would someone pay $1,200 for shoes? And that's when Ben looks down at his shoes and says, I don't know, but why would someone even pay $10 for those stinkers? And he literally points at Ryan's shoes, which are dude, they're Nike shoes. They're very standard, normal shoes, right? I mean, yeah, sure, they're a little bit beat up, and that's for sure, right? However, they're very standard shoes. I got some Nike shoes on right now, and yeah, these things are really worn. The bottoms are basically falling off. However, they work, bro. They're solid shoes. They do the job. And kind of Ryan's looking at him bro, shoes are shoes, man. As long as they're not doing damage to your feet and you can walk in them properly, what's the point? And Ben's like, what's the point? The point is that they're expensive. And Ryan's like, well, I guess we got to agree to disagree about what's important in a shoe. And Ryan's like, or Ben's like, wait until you see this. My prized possession. He pulls out I don't know, some other shoe. And it just looks ridiculous to Ryan. Because it's Yeezy Supreme Bape collaboration shoe for $25,000 million. And, and Ben's like, oh, and this one this one, guess how many of your shoes you'd have to like sell to get one of these shoes? Like Ben literally uses the metric of how crappy Ryan's shoes are in his mind in comparison to how epic his shoe is. He's like, how many of your poor person shoes would you have to sell to have one of my expensive shoes? Like literally being the worst ever. And in Ryan's mind, he's like, look, I knew that this kid was probably going to be a spoiled brat, right? But bro, this is a whole new level. Like, this is a whole new level of entitled kid, right? Like, this is a whole new, like, this is like, oh my, this is out of this world, bro. Real quick, if you made it this far into the video, comment spoiled down below. Spoiled will be the secret word of the day. I'll try and heart a bunch of comments to say spoiled. So if you're trying to farm some hearts on the channel, make sure to comment spoiled down below and I'll heart as many as I can. And also, if you want to support the channel, the best way you can do so is by watching this video all the way till the end. And then after that, when you guys have the time, if you do want to binge watch the old videos, you can either go to the playlist, which I'll leave in the pinned comment down below, which has all my videos, or just go to whatever YouTube recommends. Please let me know in the comment section if you're watching a bunch of my old videos. It really supports the channel. I'll try and heart and reply to those comments to say thank you. Anyways, let's get back to the story, right? So Ryan's just sitting in the shoe closet with his little cousin, and his little cousin's like, oh, and this hoodie over here goes for $1,200. How much does your hoodie go for? First of all, Ryan wasn't even wearing a hoodie. He was wearing like a Hanes t-shirt, which, I mean, it works, right? Hanes t-shirt's a Hanes t-shirt. It does the job, and it looks fine. And like at this point, like Ben is like, dude, show me the tag, like show me the label on that. And Ryan's like, dude, it doesn't really have a label. It's like a Hanes t-shirt. And Ben's like, you mean Hanes X Supreme collab? And Ryan's like, no. Hanes X Bathing Ape collab? Ryan's like, no. Like Hanes X Hanes collab, bro. Like no collab there. And Ryan's like, wait, you mean it's a normal? Or Ben's like, wait, you mean it's a normal Hanes t-shirt? Dude, is this like joking? Dude, if you're trying to be funny right now, you are hilarious. I'm just going to let you know. That was very funny. You're like entertaining me more than anyone else my mom has ever paid to entertain me. And Ryan's just like, what the frick, dude? Like, what is this kid on? Like, whatever drug, whatever substance this... I can't say these things. YouTube, don't be mad. Whatever this kid is on, bro, I'm trying to smoke some of that too. I can't be saying any of this. YouTube's going to be big mad at me. But anyways, right? So eventually he's called down by his mom and they sit down and they have dinner. And of course, Ben's parents have Ben has a personal chef, which by the way, if you have any of these things that like that the spoiled kid has, that doesn't mean anything bad against you. It's like you got a lucky hand in life. Like as long as you don't let that go to your head, you're chilling in my book because like you couldn't really control that either way. So I have nothing intrinsically against you. But if you're acting like Ben, then like, bro, you're kind of asking for it. I'm not going to lie. Yeah, so when they're down there, like the personal chef comes out and he's cooked up like some crazy good meal. Like this meal is super good. It's like, I don't know, it's like this, just imagine like some kind of really exotic fancy meal or something. And the thing is though, it was a little bit out there. Like it was kind of like, it wasn't like a hamburger from McDonald's. It was a little bit more complicated than that. So everyone around the table was like kind of excited for this. Like Ryan and Ryan's mom look at each other like, we haven't had a meal this good since ... Oh wait, the wedding. So it's been like 2 years since the last time we saw these guys. Because I don't know, Ryan's used to like, I don't know, a Chick-fil-A run, some Panda Express, which you can't complain about. But I don't know, when you see this stuff in comparison, you're like, God damn, like this is food. But the thing is, there was one person at the table that was not very happy about it. And it was Ben. And Ben was about to pitch the biggest fit ever. He was like, Garçon, come back here. Okay, I don't know why I called the French chef Garçon, but it seems to be fitting. Because it's like every like Disney movie has the chef called Garçon. So we're going to call the guy Garçon. So Garçon, the chef, comes back in. He's like, yes. And Ben's like, he takes a bite of it. He like doesn't vomit it up, but he like spits it back up into his napkin super like aggressively, like very, very clearly trying to make a point that he doesn't like what's being served, which fair, you don't have to like everything. Even if something's like considered a delicacy, that doesn't mean you have to like it, right? That's totally fine. If Ben was to say like respectfully to the chef, like, hey, I appreciate the work you put in here, but at the end of the day, like, I just don't enjoy this type of stuff personally. Like, can you just cook me up some like pasta or something real quick? Like, I apologize, but could you do that? Then that would be totally fine, and I wouldn't have a single thing to say wrong about Ben. However, if you're having the chef come over and you like puke it up into your napkin, dude, that's like spitting in the face of the chef who spent hours and hours doing this. That's mad disrespectful. So the chef, being paid by them, has to hold his tongue, because I'm sure if this was just a normal guy, he would take a glove and slap him in the face. But yeah, he kind of holds his tongue. He's like, all right, Ben, or whatever, would you like something else then? And Ben's like, obviously, I'm definitely not going to be eating this, dude. So sure enough, the chef takes it away and he like whips him up some. He just like Grubhubs McDonald's or something. I don't know, man. Something that Ben would like. And Ryan and his mom kind of look at each other like, what the heck is going on here, bro? Like, this kid is crazy. And Ryan's kind of giving his mom a look of like, bro, I told you this kid was spoiled. I told you this kid was spoiled, bro. Like, I told you. Yeah, but anyways, so the next day comes around, and they're just chilling, and it's like kind of a hot day out. So Ryan's sister, aka Ben's mom, says, "Hey boys, how about you get changed into your swimming trunks or whatever? You go out in the back." And in all fairness, Ryan was actually pretty excited to go out in the back, because like it did seem pretty awesome. He's not gonna lie, like it was a whole, I don't know. It was a whole like water park back there. So Ryan's not going to lie to you guys and say that he wasn't at least a little bit excited to go back there. So he gets in his trunks and, he goes out. At this point, right, Ryan's like, wow, this thing's amazing. Because it wasn't just a big pool. It was like a pool with a slide, but the slide was like terraformed to make it look like, I don't know, it was like a mountain, and you were sliding down a mountain, and there was like fake palm trees all around. It was like really beautiful and really pretty and really awesome. And Ryan was kind of excited, right? So he was having a good time. And about 30 minutes later, after Ryan was done kind of messing around on everything, both Ben and Ryan sit on like sun chairs or whatever to kind of chill in the sun and dry off. So at this point, Ryan was actually having a really good day, and he was like, okay, in his head, he was like, yeah, Ben was kind of a butt yesterday. However, today he seems to be chilling, which is pretty cool, and like I can respect that, right? And almost as soon as Ryan is done thinking that exact thought, Ben opens his mouth and once again says something pretty out of pocket. So Ben opens his mouth and he says, like, "You're welcome for me letting you stay at my awesome house." Which, like, what, bro? Why would you say that? Like, yes, it is implied. Like, it would be nice if at the end of the trip, it would actually be very courteous if Ryan was to say, "Thank you for letting me stay at your house." But to tell someone, like, "I bet you're super thankful that I'm letting you stay at my house," bro, that just defeats the whole purpose, bro. Like, obviously they're thankful. And even if they're not thankful, it would be the polite thing for them to say that. But that's on them to say it. That's not on you to force it out of them. Like, that's just some goofy behavior right there. So, yeah, Ryan kind of just looks at Ben and says, yeah, man, because, he's having a good time. But he definitely felt it was super weird that Ben was to say that to him. So he's like, yeah, man, like, I appreciate it. I do. And that's when Ben goes on to say, like, must be nice to have a break from your little tiny hut that you live in somehow, which was just the most condescending sentence you've ever heard. Like, imagine someone like you're at someone's house and they're like, "You're welcome for like getting you out of that little hut, that little broom closet, that little Harry Potter under the stairs closet that you call a house, bro." Like, dang, dude. Like, the thing is too, like, Ryan's house wasn't that bad. It was like one story, but he had his own room. There was a kitchen. There was a TV. There was a couch. What else could you want, dude? Like, legitimately, what else could you want? Sure, he didn't have 17 floors, an elevator, a pool, a Disneyland in his backyard or whatever. However, he had a good family, and he had a bed, he had a roof, he had a kitchen counter or whatever. He was chilling. So he kind of like ignores this comment. Ryan kind of like laughs a little bit to try and laugh it off, because it was kind of an awkward situation. He's not going to lie. But, yeah, the kid actually continued on and is like, Ben's like, dude, like, I've been thinking about this recently. how do you actually live in those kind of situations? Like, I've seen some documentaries on TV. It's like, when my parents donate to those like organizations, does like a little bit of that go to you? Which Ryan's low-key trying to hold his composure. He's not even mad. He's legit not even mad. He just thinks it's funny. It's just funny. Like, bro, are you serious right now? Like, are you real? The charities that are helping, people that are in like food insecure or in countries that don't have as good of like a support system, bro, like you're grouping me in with them? Like, just because I can't go to like Fiji every 2 weeks, dude, are you serious? So yeah, Ryan is just kind of looking at him. He kind of laughs it off or whatever. And nothing really else happens for the rest of the day. So on the third day, the next day, Ryan and Ben's mom decide that they want to go in and they want to go to like the whatever center and shop or whatever. And, Ryan and Ben, they have the option of staying in the house, which low-key Ryan was like, dude, I don't want to go shopping in some women's stores, bro. I'm not trying to do that. Like, I'm not trying to sit around in the chairs that are meant for the husbands, like, dude, I'm not trying to do that. Because, Ryan, he brought his computer. Maybe he was trying to watch some Netflix, maybe trying to play some games or something. But obviously, right, Ben is like, wants to go to the Hypebeast store, the shoe locker store and buy all the shoes in there or something. And, Ryan's mom's like, Ryan, since, you don't get to see your little cousin that often, you should come along too. And Ryan, once again, gives a look to his mom like, bro, are you trying to make me hate myself? Like, do you hate me as an individual? Like, what's the word on this, bro? Like, are you trying to set me up right now? But yeah, Ryan has to show up as well, whether he likes it or not. And so Ben and Ryan, they're separated from the parents. The parents are like, all right, we're going to go this way. You boys shop wherever you want. And so Ben is like, all right, follow me, dude. And he brings them to like the Hypebeast, super expensive, whatever store. And so, they get in there and, Ryan's looking around a little bit. He sees this one shoe that he thinks is kind of sick. He's like, these are kind of like, these are kind of fire. Like, I actually could like pull these off. And he picks it up and he looks at the bottom and it's like $60. He's like, oh, hell nah, bro. I'm not trying to drop $60 on this. And like Ben turns around. He's like, are you going to get those? And Ryan is like, no, I don't think I am. And Ben's like, why? I think they look good on you. And Ryan wasn't really trying to say, oh, they're $60. I don't feel like spending that. Because he knew that like Ben was definitely going to have an out-of-pocket comment. And sure enough, like Ryan eventually is kind of pushed into the corner because Ben's like, I think they look good on you. Ryan's not going to lie and say that they wouldn't because they obviously were going to look pretty fire on him. So he ends up saying like, yeah, I just don't know if I want to drop $60 on it. And Ben comes up with the most out-of-pocket comment you've ever heard. He's like, well, I mean, bro, if you just grinded like I did, if you just worked harder, you would have definitely been able to afford that. And Ryan just turns around. He's like, dude, what? So Ryan's been holding it in pretty well, but at this point, he's like, nah, this is crazy. So sure enough, Ben keeps on going on like, yeah, I mean, I'm super hardworking, and for that reason, I can literally get anything I ever want, like at these stores. Like, that's what all this stuff I was showing you. Dude, I wasn't just flexing. I was trying to inspire you. Which Ryan was like, bro. Come on now. You were trying to inspire me by flexing those shoes your parents bought you. And he basically says, like, I don't understand. And, Ben goes on to say, well, because I'm working so hard, I wanted to show you what the fruits of my labor looked like. And the thing is, right, it's not like, I don't know, Ben had some like secret business, some drop shipping business or something, or he ran a chain of lemonade stands or something like that. Bro legitimately just like played like Call of Duty and like collected shoes. He just had credit card access to his parents' card, who really just didn't care how much he spent on it at this point. So like Ryan was just like, oh man, like that's kind of ridiculous. However, there was one thing that like this kid, Ben, dude low-key messed up. Bro low-key messed up, bro. Because here's the thing. Ben's mom and Ryan's mom and Ben's mom, they were done shopping at whatever, and they wanted to go and get lunch. So they were walking in, and, Ben's mom's like, oh, I know the guys are definitely in that store over there. Because it's like the one store that Ben is always wanting to go to. So Ben's mom and Ryan's mom walk in. And they're walking up, and they can't seem to find the kids. However, Ryan and Ben were like one aisle behind them. So when Ben starts talking, Ryan's mom and Ben's mom are like, oh, that's where they are. But the thing is, right, they stop, like, Ben's mom at least stops walking over when he hears her son talk, when she hears her son talking, and Ben's mom hears everything that Ben says. So after that little conversation, Ben and Ryan are like, or Ryan's like, it's probably getting around lunchtime. Should we find the parents? And as soon as he says that, Ben's mom and Ryan's mom, they kind of like burst out from behind the scenes. And Ryan's like, oh, how long have you guys been here? And Ben's mom literally says, long enough. Like, Ben's mom was not having it right now. She was not happy at all. And like, Ryan was kind of confused. He was a little worried that, like, I don't know, his mom and like Ben's mom got another like fight or whatever, or just disagreed over something again. So he is kind of like, oh geez, like, what's going on now? And that's when Ben's mom, instead of being mad at Ryan's mom or Ryan, goes immediately to Ben. And it's just like I overheard everything you said to Ryan like just a second ago. And Ben's like, what? About like how I'm trying to inspire him? Because like low-key, Ben didn't see anything wrong in what he was saying, which at this point, you guys might be blaming Ben, and I totally understand where you're coming from. But at the end of the day, kid is 13. At that age, you're really just molded by your parents at that point. So the fact that Ben was like trying to inspire Ryan by flexing and telling him to work harder, bro, was just because that was just the aura / energy / parenting that like his parents gave off to him, right? I mean, you're shaped by your parents when you're that young. But Ben's mom was not having it. She was like, I don't understand how you could possibly think that, calling out Ryan for not spending that much money on shoes will inspire him. And Ben's like, well, if he worked as hard as me, he'd be able to spend like I do. So I'm just trying to like inspire him to work as hard as me. And that's when because here's the thing. Sure, Ben's mom was a little bit like living on a different planet since she kind of had unlimited money too, but she grew up as a sister with Ryan's mom, and they grew up in a household where money was much tighter. So even though Ryan's mom or Ben's mom right now might have been a little bit delusional at some points, and especially, when she called out Ryan's mom for giving her a cheap present, that was probably like a little bit of delusion plus wedding day nerves. But she still had enough context, enough life experience, and real-world understanding to understand how crazy of a statement that was. So she goes on to, like, berate the spoiled kid, basically saying, like, I don't understand what you mean work harder, like your dad and I have mistakenly given you unlimited access to our credit cards. We thought that would make you like a better kid for some reason, or just make you happy, but it seems like it's turned you into like an ungrateful, spoiled brat. Like, what do you mean that you've been working like so hard or whatever? And Ben tries to justify that like that one time that he cleaned his room was like why he has like $100,000 to spend. And Ryan and Ryan's mom the entire time are kind of looking at each other, especially after the spoiled kid tries to justify why he can spend $1,000 on shoes every single day was because he cleaned his room once, and that was literally the epitome of grind set, and he's grinding, and that's like his hard work. Hard work pays off or whatever, right? And at this point, Ben's mom realizes that she messed up, that this is low-key on her, and that she's got to take a like quick evasive parenting maneuvers to try and fix the situation. So she informs like Ben that, the money he'll be spending from this point on will be 100% due to his like hard work or anything, and that he will be able to have the opportunity to get money from hard work by jobs around the house that she'll be paying out, and that he no longer has access to their credit cards. Ben immediately, right, and here's the thing. Like, I know for a fact that, like, Ben's mom was going to be like, hey, tie your shoes, here's $25,000, or, oh, go cut the grass for $1 million. Like, okay, maybe not that extreme, but she was definitely not going to be like, okay, if you work in the yard for 9 hours, I'll give you $10. That's low-key how it normally goes for 99.99% of kids, if their parents are even going to pay them. Like, most parents are like, dude, you have to clean, like, you clean the house, clean the, like, yard, do all this. We're not going to pay you, dude. Like, you're living under our roof. Like, you should be doing it either way. But you know for a fact that like Ben's parents were going to give him a ton of money for doing nothing. However, even though that was totally the case, Ben starts having a meltdown in the store because his parents cut him off from his credit card. Or not his credit card, cut him off from their credit card. He's like, that's so unfair. Like, you know that one of my hobbies is collecting expensive shoes. How on earth do you think I'll be able to keep up that hobby? Like, that makes me really different. Don't you care about college applications or something? Which, like, funny that, like, this kid who's 13 is, like, trying to leverage him buying expensive shoes as something that would get him into college. Yeah, right, bud. At this point, might as well just say that, like, you're a spoiled brat on your college application letter at this point. But anyways, he keeps, like, ranting on, and Ben's mom is yelling at him, like, you can't change my mind. Like, I know I created this monster, but I'm gonna fix you too. And he's like, you can fix me by giving me unlimited access back or whatever. And Ben's like, well, I still have the credit card and you're not gonna be able to take it back. So after he says that, like, Ben's mom literally calls up, like, the bank or whatever while they're standing there and says, hey, I want you to cancel card number, and says whatever, right? And Ben starts, like, crying in the middle of the store, like, Mom, no, you can't cancel that, Mom, no, please, like, I'm not a spoiled kid, I promise I'll show you. He's, like, having a full-on meltdown. Ryan is very, very, very uncomfortably sitting there, just kind of like, oh my God. Like, what am I supposed to do in this situation, bro? Like, I seriously don't even know what's going on. Like, what do I do, right? And after about 20 minutes of, like, Ben crying or freaking out or whatever, they all decide to just go back home at this point. And for the rest of the days, it's actually not a bad time. However, Ben is in the worst mood ever. Like, you come downstairs and you'd be like, how's it going? And he'd be like, terrible, I hate everything, and then storm back upstairs. But other than that, they had really good food and they went to some really cool places. And afterwards, on the car ride back, Ryan's mom was like, my sister's actually like a really cool person now. I think she was just going through a phase. And Ryan's like, well, unfortunately, Mom, I can't say the same for Ben. And Ryan's mom's like, yeah, I guess he wasn't as good as I was hoping he would be. How's it going, everyone? Today we got a story time of the most spoiled brat of all time. So basically, the subscriber starts to like talking with this girl, and she's talking with him back. But since the girl is a bit of a spoiled brat, as soon as she learns that the subscriber is not from a billionaire family, which I don't know why she believed that in the first place, she decides that she is going to ghost him and then dump him. However, though, when the subscriber finds another girl that he's interested in, she immediately starts to get mad at him. The spoiled brat does, at least. It's a pretty crazy story, but it's also a nice karma story it'll make you feel a little bit satisfied at the end. So make sure to stick around, sit back, relax, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Press the like button right now to claim your very own free nothing. With that all being said, let's just jump right into it. So anyways, right, the subscriber who submitted this story, this all happened when the subscriber was chilling for the summer, right? He was single for the summer, and he was looking for like a summer fling type thing. And anyways, so the subscriber stays with his aunt. And his aunt is like, pretty loaded, bro. Like, the subscriber comes from a fairly like normal background, if that makes sense. But his aunt like struck it really big. I don't know if she married someone or built her own business. I don't know. Either way, right? She lives in Nantucket, which is this, a lot of people can go to Nantucket, but especially if you live in Nantucket, you're probably pretty loaded, bro. I'll just keep it a stack, right? So he's able for the summer, he goes to Nantucket, this place where it's like an island in the United States, which basically a lot of rich people go to. I'll just be straight up, but it's very beautiful. It's very nice. I've only been there once. I cannot afford a house in Nantucket, bro. The YouTube bread ain't bad, but it's not like that. Anyways, though, so yeah, sure enough, he is there for the summer, and this story all starts when the subscriber is just in like the mall at Nantucket, right? And he's kind of just chilling, he's kind of just vibing. And the subscriber's actually fairly decent when it comes to the ladies, right? And the subscriber has one friend on the island that he made about a week ago, so they're in the mall together, and they're just walking. And that's when, the subscriber's friend, and they're walking in the mall, kind of like taps him on the shoulder, and the subscriber's like, "What's good, bro?" And the guy's like, "Dude, like, I think that girl over there is like kind of like looking at you, looking you over. Not just like looking at you, like making eye contact for 1 second and like looking away, but like kind of eyeing you, bro." So the subscriber looks over and he sees this girl, and she's very beautiful, right? Should I give her a name? Should I give her a name? We'll call her Kate because that's a go-to name. It's like Kate, Ava. Those are like the two names I use. I'm just not really creative, guys. Anyways, though, so we'll call this girl Kate, right? So it was pretty clear that, Kate was kind of interested in him. She'd like look over, smile, then look away, whatever. So the subscriber's friend's like, dude, like, do you think you're going to make a move? And so Kate was like sitting with, one of her friends or two of her friends. That detail isn't super important. And they're sitting at like this kind of like well, in the mall, there's a bunch of kind of like benches or whatever. You can sit down, maybe just take a break from all the shopping you're doing, right? And so the subscriber's like, bet, let me go over. So the subscriber walks over to where Kate's sitting and is like, hey, how's it going? Like, I'm new on the island, just trying to meet some friends, right? And Kate's like, oh, hey, like, how's it going? Like, hey, like, what's up? And they kind of like talk back and forth. And so the subscriber is done talking with her, walks back to his friend, and his friend's like, dude, like, what's up? And the subscriber looks at him and just kind of like holds his breath for a second, smiles, and says, got her Snapchat, bro. We're hanging out. And like, obviously the subscriber's friend's like, oh, dude, that's awesome. Like, good stuff, man. Like, good work, good looks, right? And so basically what happened is the subscriber went over there. They talked it up a little bit. It was pretty clear that Kate was interested, right? And so they decided, okay, well, it's not that big of an island. Like, let's meet up somewhere. So I didn't get the specific details of like what the name of the place that they were meeting up at. Probably good for the subscribers' privacy anyways. So if I kind of name or describe a place that literally doesn't exist, I just kind of have to come up with something right now, but this is more or less the place that they went to, right? So they found some kind of like park type area, some kind of like chill, or not like a park type area. Maybe it was near a park, but it was a place where there's some restaurants, there was some life, but it also wasn't like a crazy bustling area, right? So they decided to go ahead and meet up. So the subscriber snaps or whatever and says, hey, like, do you want to, like, for meeting up tonight, do you want to get dinner? So doing it pretty legit. Like, the subscriber's legitimately about to go on a date. So yeah, right. Anyways, the subscriber kind of clarifies, hey, like, do you want to go on like a date? And this was kind of like a date, but they went to a restaurant, right? Things were looking pretty good. And so anyways, he eventually gets there. He's kind of waiting around a little bit. And then, he sees Kate, walking towards him. And it's a pretty good night. So during the night, they have very standard first date discussions. So talk about a little bit like where they're from, a little bit of whatever. And here's the thing. I kind of gave a little summary in the beginning that like the Kate like eventually decides to like not leave him, right? But eventually like ghosts him and like decides to not respond or dump him in a sense because he's not from like the billionaire family, right? But here's the thing. The subscriber, I want to make it really clear. The subscriber at no point he wasn't trying to hide the fact that he came from like a normal family. And the fact that he was here is because, his aunt is like freaking loaded and she's like, yeah, of course you can stay with me, whatever, right? He wasn't ever hiding that. He just never made it super clear in either direction. And I guess Kate just assumed, oh, well, since he's on the island, probably there's certain connotations with that. He's staying here for the entire summer. Like, yeah, bro is probably doing pretty good. Anyways, though, so yeah, sure enough, they have a little conversation, a little just like first date talk, nothing too serious, nothing too crazy. And that is when, right, they're having a little conversation and it's going pretty good. Things are actually going pretty good. And by the end of it, the subscriber's like, hey, like, I hope you had as good of a time as me. Like, what are you doing tomorrow night? And they were scheduled to go on a second date. Life's pretty good. So the subscriber gets back to his place. And, his friend that he met on the island just lives down the street. So his friend's already, like, waiting at the house, talking with his aunt, whatever. The friend got to know the subscriber's aunt a little bit. And when the subscriber walks in, both his friend and the aunt's like, first date, how'd it go, right? And the subscriber's like, I think it went pretty good. We had a pretty good conversation, and she seemed, pretty interested. When I, dropped the second date, she didn't hesitate at all and was like, yeah, of course, I'm free tomorrow, let's do it. So things were looking pretty good. So anyways, right, next day comes around and, the subscriber and this girl were texting a little bit and they went on another date. And I'm just skipping through the second day because it's not super important. I think they didn't go to a restaurant this time. I think they went to something a little bit more casual, like maybe they went to bowling or a movie or something like a more fun / activity / casual, I guess, second date. And, things are pretty good. Things are looking pretty normal. Nothing too crazy, nothing out of the ordinary or anything. And, you know, they planned to meet up that weekend or whatever again. And they were going to do, I don't know, maybe dinner. It doesn't really matter. So there's a couple days in between. So the subscribers, you know, is texting this girl, whatever. And you know, things are pretty good. They're talking back and forth. And then boom, all of a sudden, right, it's like she just stops responding to him. And it's a little weird. Kind of came out of the blue. The subscriber, though, isn't going to take it, not going to make it something deeper than it needs to be, you know what I mean? Like, if it's just not that deep, it's okay. It's whatever, right? So the subscriber's like, okay, like, this is fine. But we do have, you know, we did say we were meeting Saturday, and it's super questionable, right? Or it's not super questionable. I mean, we kind of left it up in the air. We don't really know what's going on, or at least I don't really know when. I don't really know where. We just said that we wanted to have a date Saturday. So the subscriber was like, okay, like things are looking like she's not responding at the same rate, but that's okay. Maybe something came up. Maybe it's just not that deep. So he's like, hey, like, I know we had planned Saturday, but what's the deal? Like, what's good? Or he didn't say what's good, but he's like, oh, like, when do you want to do it? Like, I know a really good spot, which was recommended by his aunt, right? He's like, yeah, it's a really good spot. What time works for you? No response. Thursday, still no response. Saturday, or Friday. And when Saturday rolls around, the subscriber just kind of like, you know that feature in iMessage where you can like emphasize a message? The subscriber didn't feel like double texting, but he just wanted to like, he's like, you know what, this is looking pretty bad. Like, it's pretty much looking like we're good. But he just emphasized the message just one more time just to see. And yeah, no response. So at that point, the subscriber goes back to the house or he's talking with his friend. His friend's like, dude, I don't know what happened. And the subscriber's like, you know, it's not that deep. You know, people go on dates sometimes and it just doesn't really work out. And, you know, the subscriber's friend's like, yeah, but, you know, she seemed pretty into you from what you were saying. And the subscriber's like, yeah, well, you know, people can change their mind. Maybe something else came up. I don't really know. So the subscriber doesn't actually know at this point that there's a specific reason why she has completely ghosted him. However, through a very just like almost random / bizarre turn of events, the subscriber does learn exactly why. So anyways, right, the subscriber and his friend, it's been about a week. They're just, I don't know exactly where they are. Let's just say that they're back in the mall, but they're somewhere where other people would be. And there's a girl who's not Kate, right? And they don't recognize her. And they're just chilling, and I think they go to like, they're waiting for something. Either they're waiting in line, they're waiting for a restaurant, they're sitting there. For some reason, they're waiting there together. Maybe they're just sitting on a bench. And this girl keeps like looking at both of them, or looking more closely at like the subscriber. And the subscriber's like kind of like turns to his friend. He's like, dude. And his friend's like, yeah, no, I see it too. And the subscriber's like, well, I mean, do you think she's interested? And the friend's like, dude, it's weird. It's like she's staring at you like in a weird way. Like, I don't know how else to explain it. And the subscriber's like, yeah, I don't really know what's up. That's kind of strange. I'm just not gonna say anything. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like it is whatever at this point. And the subscriber's like, okay, whatever. But then the girl starts walking up to him. The subscriber's like, okay, like, alrighty now. I don't really know what's up, but sure. And this girl comes up to him and is basically like, hey, like, are you, says the subscriber's name. The subscriber's like, yeah, who are you? And the subscriber's, or the girl is like, hey, like, I know, like, I'm kind of friends with, like, I know Kate. She didn't say I'm friends with Kate, which is very important for what's about to follow, but saying, oh, I know Kate, like the girl I used to go on dates with. And the subscriber's like, what? Because look, I guess it's a small enough island that some people know of each other, or they're just like, they're made aware. I don't really know, man. I don't really know. It's not my scene. And the girl's like, look, I don't know. I'm not really friends with her. I just happen to, you know, I come out here because there's like a specific like person that I work for that, you know, they have like a branch out here. So, you know, they wanted me to come out and, you know, they're giving me housing, whatever. I'm not really in the same circles as Kate or whatever, but I don't know, like they were talking about you and like, I don't even think I should be like saying any of this or telling you this stuff, but I just thought it was a little bit messed up. So I thought I'd tell you. So at this point, the subscriber's interest is like beyond peaked, which I mean, makes sense. I mean, my interest would be pretty peaked too. So this girl goes on to say that somehow that like she just happens to be in a very large friend group that Kate happens to be with, like in the same friend group, right? I think she's friends of a friend, and on the island, like it's it's small enough that like you kind of just hang out with whoever's there. At least in this specific part. I don't know if it's true across the board, but that's just kind of like at least true for this kind of like community on the island. And she said that like basically Kate was like talking with all of her other friends who, are, live on the island, or at least they don't live on the island, man. Correction. They have a house on the island. So it's that type of like, is that type of money, right? And she was basically telling them about, oh, like I met this guy, whatever. And he's here for the whole summer. So I'm pretty sure that he must have like a house up here. And for some reason, the subscriber still to this day doesn't know how, but like one of the girls somehow either knew him and he didn't know her, or one of the girls that was talking with Kate knew someone who knew the subscriber. It was really weird. It's still to this day, the subscriber doesn't totally know how this girl knows, but basically this girl is like, no, like that's not true. Like, this guy doesn't actually have like a house on the island. He's like staying with like a relative or something, like a distant relative. And he's just like a normal kid. And here's the thing, bro. Like Kate, this girl's like, oh, like, what? Like, are you sure? And she's like, I don't know if I can be seen dating a society person. And at this point, right, the girl who's coming up and telling this to the subscriber started to feel a little bit uncomfortable. And she didn't say anything during this conversation, but I think her conscience almost forced her to find the subscriber, or like not find the subscriber, but if she saw the subscriber, to tell him like the truth of what happened. And yeah, so basically what happened is, Kate decided that with all of her friends completely in agreement, right, decided that she was going to ghost the subscriber and basically pretend like he never existed because, his family net worth was not the right number of digits, which is, pretty, quite kind of this like quintessential spoiled brat type moment right there. So yeah, that is the explanation for why the subscriber got ghosted. So the subscriber honestly felt a lot better about being ghosted, because at first he kind of felt like, oh, well, this is a reflection of me. Like she's ghosting me because I was like bad on the date, or she just doesn't find me attractive anymore, which is a little bit tough. The subscriber also kind of knew like, hey man, it's a numbers game and you can't let it get to you that much. So it didn't get to the subscriber that much, but the subscriber like genuinely said like, look, I actually feel a lot better now because one, I know it's about like, I got like dumped, ghosted, whatever, based on something that's completely out of my control and shouldn't really matter. And also two, I dodged a bullet. Like her dumping me or ghosting me was like a blessing. Like she blessed me by allowing me to dodge her. Because if that's like her priorities, then we're not going to get along well. You know what I mean? So yeah, sure enough, the subscriber felt a lot better after this. And the girl's like, look, I know you're only here on the island. You don't know a lot of people and you're only here briefly or temporarily or whatever, but please do not tell anyone I told you this. I could get in a lot of trouble. Like they'd get really mad at me. The subscriber's like, look, I'm not trying to make your life difficult. I promise, it's between you and me. So anyways, right, life goes on for the subscriber, and about a week later, he's, working, he got a job. Like, he didn't have a job at first, but he was able to get a job on the island, I think working at, like, an ice cream shop or something, and this girl comes in, the subscriber thinks, she's pretty cute or whatever, and eventually, she actually gives him his phone, yeah, she gives him his phone number, lol. Now, she gives him her phone number, and, they end up going on a date. However, the place that they go on a date at is the same restaurant that Kate, the girl from earlier, and a bunch of her friends are also eating at that night. So let's just say this is about to be a really awkward interaction. Real quick, if you made it this far into the video, comment brat down below. That'll be the secret word of the day. So if you made it this far, make sure to comment brat down below. By the way, if you're watching this or listening to this or watching this on YouTube and you use Spotify and you don't follow me on there or listen to the stuff on there too, top link in the description and only link in the pinned comment is the link to the Spotify. And finally, I would really love to know what you guys are doing while watching these videos or listening to them. I actually just find it interesting. It's not even like that important for like a data survey to make better stuff. I just am genuinely curious. Anyways, though, so yeah, so the subscriber got a date with a new girl who, is probably, maybe she's going to be just as bad as the other one. He doesn't really know, but probably not. Like, that's pretty bad, right? So anyways, he gets to the restaurant, he's waiting there for a little bit, and this new girl shows up. And he's like, oh, hey, how's it going, whatever. And they go up to the waiter, and they're like, or not the waiter, the person at the front desk, and like, hey, we got reservations for 2 under the name subscriber. And they're like, oh, yeah, of course. So they are sat down, and they are sat as they're walking over to the table. So these aren't booths, these are like tables. So you can see everyone else in the restaurant. As they're walking over to their table, the subscriber locks eyes with a girl at the table right next to them, and that girl is Kate. And they just stare at each other for like 2 seconds and then quickly look away, bro. It is so awkward. The subscriber's like, ugh, okay. And he's like, you know what? It's not a big deal. We don't talk to each other anymore. We're not friends like that. So the subscriber sits down with the girl. And they take out the menu, and the subscriber has a little bit of small talk. They're looking over the menu, whatever. It's chilling. It's all great. And that is when, he's like, you know what? There's no way this girl's going to, like, do anything. Like, she already ghosted me. She ghosted me because I don't have a billion. My dad didn't invent, like, every, like, train ever or, like, owns every bank in existence. So, yeah, like, she's not going to bother me, right? Like, she doesn't want anything to do with me. However, here's the thing. Before, the subscriber did not have a girl that he was talking to. So she was like, oh, whatever. But now the subscriber has a new girl on a date, and she gets really jealous. And now he's like valuable, quote unquote, or whatever. It's kind of stupid, but whatever. So the subscriber's sitting there, and his phone is just on the table. And he doesn't have it set so it's like notifications will only be like, you have to unlock the phone to see the notifications. He just has them like available. So he gets a notification on his phone, and it's a text message. And it's a text message from the girl, Kate. And she says, like, hey, what are you doing tonight? And the subscriber immediately, like, tries not to bring attention to the phone, like, quickly shuts it off before the date that he's on with right now can see it, and flips the phone over. So at this point, the subscriber's like low-key kind of mad because he's like, okay, this girl ghosted me for stupid reasons, and now just the second that I actually have an actual date, she decides to almost, I don't know if she actually wants me back, or if she just wants to ruin my chances with this girl so I can't be with anyone. Either way, it's like pretty messed up. So the subscriber like completely turns over his phone, and he's also turned the ringer off. It turns out later on, he like picks up his phone after a lot of stuff that's about to happen, which I'm about to tell you about. She texted him like 6 other times before realizing that his phone was turned the other way around. But yeah, anyways, the subscriber, for about like 10 minutes or so, is just like, talking to the girl. It's like a very normal date. Things are pretty standard. And that's when the Kate girl walks over to the table. And the subscriber sees this in the corner of his eye. And at first, he's probably thinking, okay, this girl is walking kind of in my direction, but she's probably going to walk past me to the bathroom or walk past me to go outside, to go into her car and grab something. Who knows, right? She's definitely not coming up to me, the guy that she ghosted for ridiculous reasons while I'm on a date with another girl, and I don't even know this girl, right? And no. So Kate comes up to him, and she's like, hi, like, what's your name? And like goes up to like the girl that, the subscriber's with right now. And the girl's like, oh, my name's whatever, right? And the subscriber's just like paralyzed. He's like, what the frick, bro? Like, what? And yeah, so basically the Kate goes on to be like, yeah, like this is a subscriber and I, we're friends, haha. And the subscriber's like, no, get out of it. Nah. Yeah, so eventually, the girl's like, all right, well, just want to say hello. And Kate walks away. So the subscriber's sitting there super awkwardly with this new girl. And the way that, like, Kate said we're friends, like, she was able to put the right emphasis on it. So it was pretty clear that they were not just friends. Even though they were, they went on a couple dates, but it wasn't really that deep. It definitely wasn't more deep than that. But yeah, the rest of, unfortunately, right, this actually kind of messed up things for the subscriber because he had like some flow with the original date and this girl and completely messed up the flow, like absolutely messed it up. But anyways, right, yeah, so the rest of the date is pretty messed up and the subscriber's kind of mad after this. So the girl that he's on a date with, they eventually gets like, another ride home or whatever. Cause like they like took like, I don't know, they just like walked over or she took like public transportation or something and he drove over. And like best case scenario, since she didn't drive over in a car and like they both kind of knew that like she would go back with him basically. But since the date went so poorly, she just went back, and the only reason it went poorly was because of this super weird interaction with Kate coming over. So the subscriber is kind of just like sitting outside as like the girl walks away and he's like kind of upset. And that's what he notices in the corner of his eye. Kate comes up to him and he kind of looks at her and he's like, what was that in the restaurant? And she's like, oh, like, I just want to make sure that you weren't making any mistakes. The subscriber's like, what? Like, what is that supposed to mean? And Kate goes on to be like, well, I know that, like, I know I did ghost you and everything, but, I just needed a little time to think. And it looked like, you were going out with another girl. I just want to make sure that it was clear that you guys were just going to be friends. The subscriber's like, what are you talking about? And Kate's like, well, I've thought about it. And you know what? Maybe you wouldn't be so bad. So I'm willing to go on another date with you. And the subscriber is just so completely blown away by what she just said. She just said, I've thought about it, and I've decided that I will, I guess, go on another date with you. Like, she has some crazy power dynamic over him. And yeah, so she literally ruined his date on purpose just to get him to, like, go on a date with her. And the subscriber's like, no, I'm not going on a date with you. And Kate's like, what? And he's like, yeah, I'm not going on a date with you. Like, do you need me to spell it out or something? And she's like, whoa, but why? Like, I'm pretty, like, I come from a good family, like, I'd be able to give you so much, like, why would this not work? The subscriber's like, I just don't like going on dates with jerks. He turns around and walks away. He saw Kate one or two other times on the island. They would like see, they just like would be in the same area and they might eye contact for a second and then quickly look away. But he never had another full-length conversation with her. However, he did, that girl that like told him about like what Kate was saying about him and the reason why she goes to him originally. The subscriber sees that girl again and that girl is like, hey, like, like that's awesome what you said to Kate. And the subscriber's like, what? And she's like, oh yeah, sorry. Remember, like I'm friends with, Kate-ish. Like I'm just happen to be in the same circle, like social circle. Like Kate told some people, dude, you completely decimated her ego. Like she is destroyed after that. Like no one has ever done that to her. It was like I hate to be mean to my quote unquote friend, but like she definitely did deserve it. So yeah, the subscriber eventually does get a little bit of revenge. And that is the end of the story. So if you want to support the channel, click on the video on screen right now. If you're listening on Spotify, just watch another podcast and peace.